guys. Jeff and I were talking backstage, and I noticed the time. I was like, "Oh shit, we're live! We're live! We gotta go." Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Jeff. For those just joining us for the first time, my name is Bobby. This is Wild Raven Tarot, and in this segment of my channel, what I do is a show called Behind the Cards. Everybody has a story. Every single person on the face of the planet has a story, and I'm interested in those stories. I'm interested in what brings a person to their current path, how they're walking their path, and where they think this path will lead them. Ramon, hey Bubba, how you doing? Ramon. We got Mama Sushi here also. All right, people are starting to trickle in. I know there's another show going on right now, Miss Heather, so people may be hopping back and forth. Indigo Jaguars going with Nancy, but I'm sure everybody will catch it on the replay. Joanne Miranda, part 2 of an awesome show. That's right, this is part 2, everybody. Jeff was on last week, but I decided to do something I never do. I abandoned my regular format and we decided to riff on the actual cards themselves and what they mean to Jeff. So we're going to continue doing that. Before we do that, we give people yeah, Joanne. Did I get your email? I haven't checked yet. I'm sorry, love. I'll check right after the show. I didn't get a notification though, but I will find it. So, this is part 2, and we went from the Fool card to the Wheel of Fortune. Hey, Ange, how you doing, bub? And now we are picking up with the Justice card. And for those who don't know Tarotaskbackwords channel, there has been known to have a little political side to it. Slightly political side. That's okay.
Hi, Jeff.
I want to know, hey, Jay, how you doing? Hey, Julianne, how you doing, my love? I want to know, now we have Justice card is the first one. Aren't these beautiful big-ass cards? Look at these.
Yeah.
How big those are.
Talk about justice overblown or whatever. Wow.
Justice overblown. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Now, the Justice card deals primarily with the energy of Libra, balance, law. What is the Justice card to you and why?
There's this thing for me where whenever you bring up justice, it's either depersonalizing it or personalizing it. And I think when we look at it, we don't need to impose the meanings of karma, because the problem with that is that isn't just how the world works to me. Like I do not believe that if you create karma, you're going to create an outcome. I don't believe that everything works that way. So to me, when I see that card, it's like justice isn't always just. Meaning, I feel like there's a mystery element to that card. I feel like there's certain things in the world that haven't been written out, especially in the times we're living in now, that don't always make sense as to why they're happening. But when there is I almost call it a reset, when there is some sort of reset or cleanse or whatever, in hindsight, people will attribute what they consider justice. And that will be when a lot of the other people who, don't want to look at justice as something more personal for them, because a lot of that can be very, very dangerous on a couple levels. One is that if you have the hypocrisy element to it, that's bad. But also, if you're constantly thinking that what you're doing is wrong and you're not too hard on yourself, that can be at the other side of it too. So I feel like in the world we're in right now, especially in this country, the idea of justice is something that just doesn't carry much weight. on a collective level. And maybe what we're supposed to see is that it never did, because all of these impositions of law, if they weren't there, we'd be heathens and savage. And that's, the scary part of that is we could be headed in that direction. So to me, justice isn't always just, but it has a certain element. I wouldn't call it karma. I would call it equalizing, because we're all carrying karma. And what we do with our karma to try to cleanse it, it's almost like the shadow work we do. It really is independent of all of that justice work, that the universe has. So yeah, there is the fairness. Yeah, there is the balance. Yeah, there is the truth. But I don't always think it's about your balance, your equilibrium, your personal subjective or objective, for that matter, truth. I think that that's where right now, in the realm we're in, we get in trouble. So when I read that card, again, everything's contextual. So I guess it's inflected by what's around it to me.
Mhm.
Um,
I'll tell you about this card. It's cold. That's the thing about this card. It's cold, and this card, I have them finally big enough I could show everybody. Look at this card, and then look at this card. This is the High Priestess and the Justice card. They're pretty much identical, right? The difference is the High Priestess is all emotion, and the Justice card is none of that emotion. It is just cold, hard truth and facts. And that's what scares me about this card, because those facts can sometimes be manipulated, and I don't like that. But yeah.
And there's like I don't want to say a cold hand of justice, but almost like there's that religious aspect to it too. I just feel like when those cards were invented and when they were used almost as, you know, in the occult, to me, and I don't know if you feel this way, but there's sort of this sort of turnabout is fair play thing, because where religion would be the one controlling it back in the day, hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, now, or for that matter, today even, I kind of feel like it turns it all on its head, because what it's doing is reinforcing some of the stereotypes that people might have about cards until you have a more evolved reader looking at them. Because I think, back in the Middle Ages, people were turning to them and it was considered taboo. So when you were reading things and you were getting things on a level that sort of transcended not just the meaning of the cards, but what religion told you these cards meant, what the iconography was. Now it's just so much more than that. And I don't think I was going somewhere with this. What I think is that you have to really be adept at knowing that your objective bias and your confirmation bias when you're reading has to be sort of like, it has to be a filter to a point, because it's going to inform how you read. But
absolutely,
how you use those cards around your own personal experience is part of the gift that you've been given when you came into this world to share through your reading. And everyone has that gift and the gift of experience, whereas in a feudal society it wouldn't be something that a reader you'd go to, and yeah, you would trade goods and barter and all that. But nowadays, I mean, with the same sort of class structures and whatever, I feel like it's so important to know that these gifts are more than just a trifle, and they were back then too, that would be relative to a caste society. I feel like that everybody in any, and what I would like to know is I'd love to see billionaires try to read these cards. Like, I don't know. I just would, I want to see it because there's a certain level of vibration.
No, you have to be able to face your own shadows when you're relaying these messages that we're relaying with the tarot cards. We're doing it, as you say, by adding our perspective into it, our history, our path. Everybody who's seen me read cards knows that I put myself into that narrative. I relate my life stories with my clients' stories. If I don't have the ability to face those things myself and actually look in that direction, I'm not going to relate in the same way. And that's what makes everybody an individual. And this is bothering me. I got to put that sign over my head so it's not blocking you out. Everybody reads from their heart and their spirit. It bothers me when people assume because somebody's not educated or as learned in tarot as other people are, they play gatekeeper. I've done it myself where I'm like, this person should not be reading cards, but that's really wrong of me to do. I can't be that gatekeeper. Those messages may reach somebody. I don't know. I wouldn't advise it myself personally, but here in town we have a lady who is just an awful, awful, awful reader. And I say that because her thing is she's like in her 70s, but her goal is to make people cry, and she's almost brutal about it. And she's not doing it for cleansing or healing. She's doing it because she wants to know, oh, see how good I am. I made them cry. And other readers have called her up short during readings at psychic events. They're like, dude, what the hell? So I will not support a reader like that, but it's not up to me to say they shouldn't be reading. Even though I 100% feel that way, I really shouldn't be saying it. Let's move on to the next card.
Yeah, we got off on that one. Wow.
Yeah, justice really sets me off. Balance is my thing. If I service, I work in service to Hermes, and the oldest depictions of Hermes have scales. In the images, the statues, the paintings, scales are a big thing. Balance and justice. So when there's injustice, it just sends me over the edge. It makes me feel helpless, which leads us into our next card, the Hanged Man.
Oh, I love that card.
How so and why?
That card, yeah, it means so much. It's and the very essence of how it looks, whether you're reading it, it doesn't even matter if you're reading it as a reversal, because it doesn't really look like it should be read as a reversal, because it's already done for you in some way. I mean, to me, I think of mercenary energy. When I think of that, I think of sacrificial energy. I think of a delay. I think of almost things that some of you out there that are, that talk about free will and talk about, faith, and talk about those things that we can control and make choices based on them. That card is really, really so much more than just quote unquote perspective. It really is about the depth of the perspective and the choice that you might make from it. I mean, to be a martyr, to kind of have the power to be in the mindset that, this is the pause before the next thing, or this is the delay. So there's, unlike a lot of other cards where it's about a reflection or about a delay, there's a combination of how you're acting to affect the meaning of that card versus how, a delay, like to me in the Three of Wands or something, or Two of Wands, actually Two of Wands. If you throw the Two of Wands on in the reverse, it's when it was an unexpected turn of events or something, so this idea of delay and this idea that we control everything, and that we make decisions based on what the cards tell us or that we have to, is a misnomer. And the reason I like that card is because it not only does bring in the hand of the choice through free will, but it does talk about something that might be giving you pause to kind of back away. And even if you're not going to make a choice, you make a choice by doing nothing, right? Or you can be that mercenary, or you can be that person that jumps right into it head first, looks at it from a totally different vantage point. That card has so much beautiful meaning, not just spiritually, but from a standpoint of redefining so
That's
much.
an interesting thing you just said, not just spiritually. One of the things I do when I'm reading is looking at the different planes, physical, mental, and spiritual, how a card affects it. And it's part of my narrowing down process to get to the meaning. This card I love because it forces you to become aware of other things outside of yourself. It's a self-sacrifice, though. You start to become aware that there may be a world outside of ourselves, on the other, outside of our personal parameter, which was a hard lesson for me to learn as a youth, because I was very vain and arrogant and a party boy. I was a club kid in California. But this card, the Death card, and the Devil card, the Tower card, it's a progression of awakening. This whole line of and this is where it starts for me. When we become aware that there may be something out there, and then farther down the line we realize change is inevitable, it's happening, and then, oh my god, that change was a lot worse than I thought. I'm going to have to deal with this. There's no choice, which then allows us to progress in life. But this is where it starts for me. This is where we realize there might be something beyond that 2-foot boundary we have around us, And speaking of change, we have the Death card as our next one. Now, the Death card is all about change. What is it to you? And how do you?
It's interesting because when I read that card, if I get that card with the 4 of Swords, or I get that card with even the 9 of Swords, or I get that card with there's one other one I get it with where I really believe it's a literal death, like or human death, because just of the interplay between those cards. But to me, what I find more charming, I guess, about that card is that when it's reversed, there's almost something chronic going on. Something
like that?
Something that should change, or maybe something you don't want to change. And you're, maybe to some degree, you can't see that it needs to change. So people would call it stagnation. I call it chronic, because stagnation, I feel like that's such a common term that when we give that, and I've seen that with cards where it doesn't mean anything. Like, it means something independent of the cards, because I guess the thing that would mean the most is status quo. But for me, even with death and even with change, that is the death of status quo, So if we don't read it that way, we should be more specific about it in that regard. But when I'm reading it upright, to me, I kind of feel like it was something that had a natural ebb and flow, that had its time, and now it had to go. Like, it doesn't mean anything human death until I see it with
Bowen.
three.
Sorry, that's my boy. Hi, Bowen. He is the cutest little sucker you've ever seen in your life. If serious Bowen, you're a doll. I just love you. He's the sweetest person. He's like a teddy bear. I just love him. All right, continue. I'm sorry. He just took me by surprise.
So that's fine. I think that the gravity of that card, it kind of not, or the profundity of it. It's just kind of like if you are someone that suffers maybe from chronic obsession, or there is something almost really strangely tied to the devil card with that card. And it's not for the reasons that people think, which is what makes it so much more interesting, because it really, this idea of a spiritual death, or this idea that, the devil's all about gluttony and all the 8 or 9 sins. Well, or the however many, 12 or whatever, 7 deadly, whatever. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me that the death card would be, as you pointed out a couple minutes ago, on that trajectory after the hangman, after, those justice cards and whatever. But it's really in how we read them, because if you think of chronic suffering, which if it came in reversed, it's something that's supposed to happen on that movement. And it's really not about a definite end or a definite beginning, or the definite end or the beginning of a cycle. It's about the picture of where you are at a given time. And it's even not about coming to a reckoning. I feel it's not even like a judgment thing. It's so much more than that. It's about the way, the patterns that you're in, and if you're going to get out of them, what it's going to take to do it. It really isn't as something as final as people want to think it is, unless in my particular case I see it with the 4 of Swords or the 9 of Swords, or
I'll tell you about this card. For me, it is a card of unfairness and fairness, both at the same time. It is unfair and fair. Death is unfair at times. If you look, that kid there, his mother's gone. He just doesn't realize it yet. The king is gone. They're of 2 different stations. It's fair across the board. They're both taken. But it is unfair that the kid is now left to his own devices. It is unfair in a lot of senses, but it is a card that is equally unfair and fair across the board. I like this card specifically in this deck because the 2 towers in the background are of different sizes. They're different perspectives, so the angle is slightly different from where they're standing, but it makes it look like one tower is larger and one is smaller. Fairness and unfairness.
Do you feel like it's an equalizer?
It's an equalizer. Card? It is a great equalizer card. It is both unfair and fair equally across the board. Everyone will suffer equally, basically, is what this card says to me.
That's interesting, because from the progression from the Justice card to that, when you think about what they went, what you go through in those majors, that really does mean a lot more than I think people, because I think aside from the alarm that people have when they see it or get it, I think it has to be, I think people want to put or impose meaning on it, and I don't think that works for a lot of people. I think, though, that the idea of equalizing, or the idea that something chronic or something, that might be a death reverse can be a delay too. I just
an inability to accept change, an inability to just
emphatic end is just wrong.
Excuse me. This card, I don't know how well it shows up, but the horse on here is arrogant as fuck, though. All right, Death may not be out to get you, but that horse definitely is. That horse has an agenda. All right, so let's move on to a better card, which is Temperance, Healing, Unity, Alchemy. What is Temperance for you?
The okay, condensed, people would say balance. I would say discretion. And when I see that card, to me, it means that discretion's a better part of valor. Because if you look at what she's doing when she's pulling the water in the cup and what she's done as far as, there's a certain element of being measured about something. To me, it's about not always balance, but sometimes with temperance, you have to bite your tongue or hold back, or you have to be a little more reserved. And then when you are reading it in a political situation or war, it's almost like sometimes you're more calculating. It might have a more, to some people, a more strategic quality than maybe it would be assigned in a personal reading. It has more of a serene quality in a personal reading. I think that it could be a card that could be very misread because the as above, so below idea with that, like with the hope card or something. I think that sort of dichotomy and duality that is represented in the cards can be actually confusingly rendered with that card.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I think it's one of the harder cards because to me, when you say temperance, it just seems benign. Like it just seems like it's like ambivalent or even like standing back. But in reality, it's so much deeper than that. It's so much deeper than that. And then, but when you look at it, it's so much deeper than that when you look at it. But I feel like the word, Bobby, that they give it is not doing it justice because I feel like there's something less impactful about being temperate.
Well, I think that there's more to it than that. For instance, in order to bring about balance and moderation, temperance, she's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. She's in both worlds. She understands the elements at hand that she's working with, right? We don't necessarily always have to blend everything in equal parts. That's where the tempering comes in. How much of this to add, how much of that to add. Any bartender will tell you how to make that. This is an important fact to know. The other thing is the goal. Why temperance? I think the word itself, people forget words like tempered steel. Something that was made to harden through a process. So this process, the goal here is to harden, to strengthen, to heal. And that tempered steel thing, the only way you're going to get there is by being in both worlds, by understanding everything you're dealing with. That first step right there. I love this card. I really do, because just like you said, a lot of people think it's softer and vulnerable, but no, to me, it's hard as fuck. Okay, this is tempered steel. All right, this is.
I mean, it's a beautiful rendition of that idea, but as you say, Bobby, I don't think it is, and I think that's why it's so misinterpreted.
Well, I think that's why. Yeah, there is beauty in the imagery, but what's the goal of the card? That's what I ask myself. Why temperance? What does this card mean? It's healing energy, and the only way we heal is by strengthening ourselves. The other aspect of this card that I really like is that a lot of the cards in tarot have Hermes in them. Well, this is Iris. This is his counterpart, bringing healing, bringing the message. So on that, I totally get what you're saying, but for me, I'm just old school that even soft, delicate things will whoop your ass if you're not careful. Um, this is a card of encouragement and strength for me. So yeah, I love it.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I love this card, and every time I see this card, especially, I think of my bestie Joey, Joey Potts, the Veiled Cottage Witch, because she works with Iris too. Um, yeah, the healing is. This is a Sagittarius card. That is the whole point of this card: is healing and strength.
Expansion. Yeah.
Now, that's being able to bring healing into your life, but what happens when you can't bring that healing into your life, when you're trapped like the devil card has you? What is the devil card to you?
It's funny because the structure of that card reminds me of the Lover's card
It is.
with the symmetry and with the way that they interlock, and where the two sides interlock. Um, Again, and then there's this idea too that, you know, kind of the same way with the eight of wands, that you can free yourself when it's
Free
reversed.
your mind.
But
Sorry.
it's like, to me, it's another one of those like sort of chronic things. It's like death to me, because it's funny because they say it's your downfall and they say it's all of that, but it's really not. It's really about being it's about an eternal, if you want to, some people would call it an eternal damnation. I don't think it's that. I think it's more sometimes the choices that you've made that you haven't realized you've made by hitching your wagon to somebody and becoming attached to them. And then the extreme of that in the reverse is not knowing anything else. There's almost sort of a Stockholm syndrome mentality to that card, to me, because when you flip it, you've made a certain choice to be in, and it's like what Bill says, the anti-lovers card. When
Mm-hmm.
you flip that card, that idea of what is chronic becomes sort of something to which you become inured but not immune.
Yeah.
So it's your downfall, but sometimes you don't see it, because even coming back to it at the end, or what I said in the beginning, where you can free yourself from it, when it looks like you can unshackle yourself from the chains, you just choose, you just don't. And again, I hate bringing this into it. Are you not doing it because you're willfully not seeing it, or are you doing it because it is Stockholm syndrome? And it's almost a really
Yeah.
interesting thing where it's not about judgment of having an addiction or being chronically messed up or having some problem. It's not as bad a card as people think it is. I think in the reverse, actually, because there's so much more nuance to it, there's actually justification for it as being an almost compassionate card.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
I see the path you're taking
What I'm
there.
going with, yeah.
To me, it's primarily illusion. The devil's greatest tool has always been, if you listen to the Christians, illusion. And that illusion entraps you. That illusion makes you think that you're lucky to have this person in your life. That illusion is saying, oh, these drugs are good for me. They're helping me forget my problems. That illusion is saying, this alcohol isn't going to bother me. I'll be safe to drive home. It's illusion. And the Hebrew letter for this is ayin, meaning eye. It's the eye that sees past the illusion. That eye, that psychic eye right there, that has a big pentacle on it. The eye that sees past the bullshit is what I tell everybody. And some people just don't want to see past the bullshit. Some people don't even want to admit the bullshit's there. They won't address a problem. This card to me is a warning. That's all it is. It's a warning that, hey, things are not what they seem. You need to look past the illusion. That's all it is to me. But I get totally where you're going with that. I relate this card actually to the Magician card, because the Magician card creates, but sometimes when he's in his negative aspect, he does create those illusions, and it is the Magician.
Because he's
Yeah.
creating earth elements and,
Yes. He's
so
blending them all together.
Yeah.
But what if what he is creating is bad for you, and you end up in this servitude, in this situation? But because you created it yourself, you don't want to admit that these problems exist. I mean, just look at our president. He's created all kinds of problems, doesn't want to admit that what he's done is harming his own constituents. Mm-hmm. It's illusion. He right now is the Lord of Illusions. So, I'm sorry, he is the devil. But let's go on to the next card, which is the Tower. Woo! This card has been stalking me for weeks. Let's talk about this bitch. Yeah, it started in a broadcast I did with Joey last week or the week before, but you can hear me telling her this card has been everywhere, no matter where I look. And yes, it's institutions that are not built structurally sound. Yeah, realization.
And then having that Mars quality to it, the idea that through something falling, does that have to mean war? Does it have to mean having a reckoning with something that you were meant to have a reckoning with, even if it's going to cause you pain? I mean, and the thing with that card is, if it's reversed, the way that people are attributing meaning to it can be one of two things: that you're evading the Tower moment, you're not seeing it, or the Tower moment for you is something that it's another chronic thing. It's like you keep trying to evade what is supposed to happen. Like a junkie would, have to go into all kinds of withdrawal to you know what I'm saying? There's this idea of if you just jump out willingly, and even if you've turned away from it, you're still not facing it, because as painful as it still is, it's still chronic, even though you're in free fall mode, Bobby. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So to me, again, that's another card where I think the reversal might be more interesting than the actual upright, because the upright to me seems pretty clear. It seems like, but how many Tower moments do we have in our life, or do we have just one?
Yeah.
And that's what
lots.
Contrast between the reversal and the upright mean to me. And how we define those.
For me, when the Tower card is in reverse, if we take it from this bad boy to this, the only thing I think of when I look at that is you're in the midst of free falling. This is you in the current state. You may not have hit the bottom yet, but the ground is approaching. The ground is approaching at max speed, so shit needs to be addressed right now. There is a sense of urgency when it is reversed for me. Because one of the best representations of the Tower card in media, I don't know if anybody saw the Agatha All Along series. Well, in that, one of the witches turns over the Tower card like that in a spell, and the gravity just fuckers up. So I just love that card, and when I saw that, I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I love this, Jeff. Thank you for sharing your insights on the tarot with me. Everybody has such varied opinions, and I love it. I love hearing people's stories and how they view the world.
Readers. I'm going to get some water. I'll be right back.
You do that.
Yeah.
It's true, everybody watching. If one of the things that plagues tarot card readers at one point or another in their life, or maybe constantly for some of us, is imposter syndrome. We worry that not only are we not going to be accepted or believed, but there are times when we question ourselves and our own methods and messages. I've had this talk with a lot of people, Sasha Graham, Chris Butler, Ken Payne, everybody in Readers, Gerald, everybody has said at one point or another they have dealt with this. Confidence. Have that confidence. Know that the gods gave you a gift and they expect you to use it properly. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I was going off on a rant again, sorry.
Did I miss a good part?
Nah, not really.
No.
But now the star card.
Oh, okay. That's a tough one. I'm going to tell you why. Yes, for me it is.
Okay.
Well, in a Celtic cross, it is its own house. I mean, the hope and fear card is right before the outcome card. Yet there can be this sort of this duality, this grandiosity, where the hope and fear is realized by virtue of the fact that you're holding the star card. And to me, that seems a very superficial rendition of what that card is, because when you flip it over, it has all of this dichotomy, meaning like disenchantment, disillusionment, kind of this sort of despair. And yet it really in the reverse doesn't seem to me that dramatic. Does it to you based on the imagery? Because to me it doesn't, and yet it has that weight to me where, especially in a Celtic cross, if you're getting it reversed, like right before your outcome card and it lands in the hope and fear area, oh my God. But I look at the imagery of it, and the imagery is so beautiful, and there's like this trickery to how I'm reading it. And I know, I think it's as ties to Aquarius and all this stuff. And it's like as above, so below, and all these other things that people will say. But to me, those are like, they're platitudes that don't really mean anything. I find the card difficult to read. I do.
It, to me, is all about direction. Yeah, it's Aquarius. This is your tribe, your social setting, and the people that we come across. But it is also Zadi, the Hebrew letter for fish hook. The fish hook that draws you towards spirituality, towards spiritual matters. It kind of just gives you a guide to. Now, on one hand, you think, okay, you're trapped and you're trapped by that spiritual. But the other thing is, it is guiding you, much in the same way as the Chariot card for Chet does. It means fence. This is drawing you towards. Now, I've never liked that interpretation really, because that fish hook thing does get to me. I'm like, that implies you're trapped. I don't like that, but it is a guiding light. It is guiding you towards something. So when it does come up, for me, it's about direction. And if it were to fall into the hopes and fear spot, like you say, and I have had it fall there before, it tells me you're both excited and scared of the direction you're going in. You're not sure what
I like that.
What things are bringing for you. It's a new road and you're heading off on a new path. And yeah, it's scary as fuck, but you're still hopeful. So it is encouraging in that aspect for me. I do love the Thoth deck has a great interpretation of this card. If you get a chance to read up on it or watch a video on it, beautiful. Oh my god, it's just that water's flowing in a different way down the back of the goddess. It's gorgeous. Yeah, but this card is difficult to read at times because I don't know if it's about direction or about people. So I will look at the cards around it as always, but usually it's about direction in hope to get to a certain
a place or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's about that for me. But when it is reversed, it does become more confusing for me. Is there trouble in the tribal setting? Trouble with the friend zone? Have you lost your job? Have you lost your direction? Are you having a sense of crisis personally? Do you need to talk to somebody? You know, it could be a lot of things. And when that card is flipped, hope is lost, and I need to know why, because I want to get you back on track. So if it pops up in one of my readings, that's pretty much where we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Right? And I'll ask my client, what the fuck is going on with you?
Yeah.
What the hell? I crack my people up. But yeah, it's all about direction for me. Now the moon card.
Oh, what a bevy of things. I mean, and then with the high priestess too. I mean, I feel like the high priestess rules the moon, but the moon.
Hi, Adelia.
Secrets, the subconscious, the things that haven't come out yet. And then it reverse. There's this again, more of this sort of chronic obsession, mental illness, sickness, and lunacy, of course. The hard part for me is knowing, which end is up as far as where some of those meanings fall, because to me, if something is reversed with the moon, it might have already come out. It might have already been a secret that's been revealed, kind of like when you get the high priestess reversed.
That cat's out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag. So, if the cat's out of the bag and then you're talking about all these other chronic things at the same time, how bad is it to be in our subconscious, and all of that other stuff? Is it a healing? Is it on some level a healing card? Is it on some level a defeatist card? Is it a card that means to you that the people around you are making you ill, or is it you that's self-imposing this? Is this your dreams? Is this about more your subconscious and what you're placing on others than it is, so there's so many different ways to go with that card. None of which I think are invalid. I think it's going to depend more on not just what's around it, but what it is that you're asking as a whole. Because if the key is sometimes making as Carl Jung says, making the subconscious conscious, maybe there's something that you're not seeing about, and this is a lot about the shadow work or the dreams. What is it you're not picking up on that you need to work on? So I feel like it more than anything, it probably isn't as dark a card as maybe it's been given a rap for being. I think it's more of seeing where the baseline for someone's stability is, and where, and not even so much that in a judgmental way, but where you can take advantage. I hate to say it, where you can take advantage of where those weaknesses are for another person, or the way you read, not the card, but you read another person and see something that you maybe hadn't thought they were faltering from before.
Right. To me, this card is about danger, but danger being revealed, that which is hidden in the night being shown by the light of the full moon, if you want to get all poetic about it.
Hi, Fatima. Hi, Janet.
The waters flowing forth from the High Priestess play a big part in this card. That little mud bug rising out right there. Yeah, there's that things of hidden things coming out into the light, but the thing I like most about this card is the two canines, right? One is a domesticated dog and one is a wild wolf, traditionally speaking. Which one are you going to feed?
Mhm.
Which one are you going to accept? The trick is you need to accept both of those parts of yourself. You need to have that balance of wild and domesticated. And to me, that mud bug coming out of that water is the final countdown. Sorry, Heather hit me right there. Sorry. This is the result of balancing your two natures, having that bug crawl out. This is the new hidden you emerging, balanced and ready to go. Because even though one is wild and one is domesticated, they'll both rip your fucking throat out if you're not careful. So I think perception
and who
plays a
leads
great
the
part.
way? And who leads
Yeah,
the way? Yeah,
exactly. So to me, this is a card of danger, not only of outside danger, but of danger from within. You know, don't allow yourself to lean too far towards one side or the other. Don't become a doormat, but also don't rip people's faces off.
yeah.
So that is what that card means to me. When it's reversed, you're in shadow. There's something happening around you that you're just not seeing. Unless other cards say differently, that's pretty much how I view that card.
Or it's something that maybe already happened.
Yeah, yeah. Again, that is the reader's call. Now, when you get a feeling of time, do you always add it in? Because I don't always get a feeling of time. So when I do, I'll add it in.
I don't generally get it, and I'm trying to think now when the cards are involved where I get it from. I usually read wands in months, and swords in years. But even that's kind of hazardous.
I think,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I lean more towards the zodiacal aspects. So if there's more Aries cards, it's going to be in the spring. Or if there's more swords, we're talking later in the year towards winter or, Capricorn season, whatever it is. But that's more along the lines.
Also, if you like the Eight of Cups is Saturn in Pisces. So I really do, and I've fallen off with this. I do like, because when you're reading tarot, it's all one, really, because it's not just, it's based on the zodiacal structures, but it's also based on the numerology. And all of that stuff is tied together because fives mean stop, halt, and holts. Well, what is the Five of Wands about? It's basically about, it's about conflict, but it's about conflict in the sense that everyone might have the same goal, but how do we reach that goal? It can be something as positive as that, yet inflected by the difference in opinion about how to get. So that's a stop, halt, and hold. Full force or foundational. So like Venus in Aries, when you're talking about the Four of Wands. So
that's finally balancing the two aspects.
The beauty in the war, the harmony and the beauty that comes from those aspects that you wouldn't ordinarily think is foundational. But
You
yet,
threw it out there. Let's talk about the 8 real
okay.
quick. The 8 of Cups is a card of Pisces. The 8s, 9s, and 10s of Cups are the Pisces cards. Each one of them is ruled by a different planet. In this case, Saturn, causing that restrictive feeling, making you want to go, making you want to leave. Pisces is the house of endings. So we've got that restriction and that ending. You finally saying, fuck this, I'm out, which happened to me last week.
And I think if you, and that's the dimensionality with which people should read, I think, because there's no accident, Bobby, in how those were created.
No.
When they talk about how, astrology is the foundation for, astronomy, and then, psychology has its roots, some of it in, some of the other things that came before.
Jungian aspects.
More mystical. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really no accident to this. So when people are loath to see the value in tarot, and yet at the same time too, the other part where we do attach what it is that we know about our own celestial natures in our place in this world, it's really an injustice of people who don't understand it, who haven't experienced it, and haven't used the tools that we've used the way we have in our understanding to knock something we don't. That's what's so frustrating about it.
Frustrating is the word.
All those things do interplay, like, the 6th house, the 12th house, the Scorpio and what house it is and what it rules.
Scorpio, oh my gosh, that is a whole...
Also important and also traceable.
Is Karen in the crowd? Is she here? Anytime I start talking astrology, Karen pops in. So, Karen, if you're here, let me know. I need to get together with her again. I love doing astrology shows with her. But yeah, there is so much to tarot, the different aspects of it. And I'll admit that's one of the things I love about reading with Thoth and Golden Dawn, is because they do incorporate those different aspects. Speaking of Golden Dawn and Thoth, I might as well announce it now. I'm going to lean into Golden Dawn studies this year. Which is something I never thought I'd say.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm going to be leaning into the Golden Dawn studies. I really was not expecting this, but the deeper and deeper I go down that rabbit hole, it's all leading in one direction to the Golden Dawn, which is the predecessor of the RWS, so and the predecessor of Thoth. So I absolutely have to study it. I cannot avoid it. And I'm not happy about it.
You know what it is too? Like, even in tarot, like, the yellow is supposed to represent consciousness too. The yellow background versus the
it's actually the logos.
The logos, yeah.
But
to me, it's like
consciousness of the universe.
Yeah, of the universe, right? So, these things weren't done by accident. And I know, science is about empirical. Well, look at the patterns in the way that these things were constructed, and look at the ties to, the way the world works, the way the sun goes around the stars. These things didn't just happen. You know what I'm saying? No one just said one day, well, I'm going to do this with this card, and this card's going to mean this. In fact, it's quite the opposite. But
there was a pattern.
Yes. Yeah,
it was intentional. And anybody who thinks it wasn't needs to go back and discover who Eliphas Levi was, and all the members of Golden Dawn, and how the RWS Smith came to be. It's just overwhelming. And yes, I kept that closet door shut for a long time because I knew once I opened it, all that shit was going to fall out and fall on me. But I can't avoid it anymore.
Like it's just like it depends on the system you use. Like Lenormand, like lately it was ridiculous because on a literal level you could say a lot of these. I'm just going to go down this rabbit hole for a minute. That a lot of the cards have meanings about human trafficking. Okay, and I'm getting a lot of human trafficking. Well, like today, for instance, like the fact that we're talking about sending Americans to El Salvador with, the people that are supposedly not American or, you know, I've been getting a lot of that energy for months. There was this story in Georgia about a woman who had a miscarriage, right? And she, because of what Brian Kemp and whatever. So for months, I've been getting a lot of, and it was before even the election, that women are going to be facing a lot of different things. The way the Lenormand is structured and the way you go 2 up and 1 over, 1 down and 2 over, Bobby, and then you get stories that way. To me, that's like it's a puzzle, but it's a puzzle that's rooted. And what my lesson here is the same as your thing about tarot. These systems don't exist in
arbitrarily. They are.
Minds. They're not arbitrary. Like I was talking to my mother about it last night because I will make her watch certain ones that I'm watching. You know what I mean? She's like, well, she said Kamala will win. I said, well, maybe she did win. That's not the point. Denise Siegel did say that either way was going to be dark and Trump will steal the election. So, literal meaning is almost secondary, if you will, to what you get on a higher vibrational dimensional plane when you're reading cards.
That's a whole nother aspect right there. When you have your guides and your spirit guides whispering in your ear, and for those people who don't work with their spirit guides or aren't open to messages from spirit that way, when you hear us talk about whispering in your ear, it's not always audible, but it's a definite, undeniable situation for people who do work with them.
I know, and I'm like, where are these coming from? Right before he went in I heard "Let Them Eat Cake," like right out of the French Revolution. I didn't even realize that we're in a place right now where, I knew where that came from in Marie Antoinette. I knew that, but what I didn't realize is that zodiac-wise, we're coming up on a period where the way the zodiac is, we're going to be seeing that energy of what it was like within the French Revolution in the next
wonderful
years. So I didn't realize that at the time, but you could just say on a superficial level, it was the energy I'm getting about, how they're like, fuck you, fuck all of you. You know what I'm saying? And that would have been enough. But what I'm saying is, that would be something out of hand that people who didn't believe in tarot and believe in what you and I are doing would out of hand dismiss it with reason. Well, that can mean anything. That obviously that means, but when you're talking about issues that have to do with the zodiac and where the zodiac, none of these cyclical things are reflected in the tarot and in astrology and in numerology, right? So,
do you know, in the past, gosh, we'll keep it short. In the past 10 years, do you know how many people have said that doesn't resonate with me?
Oh.
Three. And I asked them, okay, I'm not asking you if it resonates. You asked for a reading. I'm letting you know this is the energy surrounding you right now, whether you're able to see it or not. That's kind of why you sat at my table. I'm pointing this out to you. So take it under advisement or not. It's still $50.
Or I'll say, I don't know why I'm getting this, is what I'll say to you, but I will say to you that this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it may not make sense to you now, but remember my words because I'm confident they will. Yeah, I've never really had somebody say that doesn't resonate with me. One guy was like, sat there when he sat down with his arms crossed, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't going to go well." But, the next thing he said was, "Okay, impress me." So I was like, "Okay, let's do this." You're not going to connect with people who aren't open to that connection.
Yeah,
So
and
don't worry
like
about it.
I don't, that's the thing is like we really all are conduits for something. It's like right now, sometimes the energy feels like it's sliding back into 2D if you want to talk about all that. And it's like X, Y, and abscissas, whereas, linear algebra is about equations in 4 variables,
Mm-hmm.
5 variables, or 6, where there could be no answer or there could be 4, So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, every outcome has so many other ways that
Everybody has
yeah.
a purpose too. Um, everybody has that message, and everybody has a purpose. And messages can come from the most unlikely places. We're back to that gate. We're back to that gatekeeping thing about just because we don't honestly view somebody as being able to give a good message doesn't mean that the gods won't use them.
Yeah.
Madmen and fools have always been the closest to God and protected to the gods. They've always said things that were amazing, always. Children, same thing. So we really need to stop being so arrogant and be open to possibility from everybody. Hi, Judith. How you doing,
Hi,
love?
Judith.
So we didn't talk about the next card, which is the Sun card. The Sun normally has that creepy baby, but on this deck, the baby's really cute, but that horse looks like he's on crack or something. Look at that. What is the Sun to you? Because I know for me, it's all about harmony. That is the big thing. This is the sixth on tarot.
No negative side to that card.
Oh, fuck that. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, there is. And the thing that's when it's reversed to me, it's about being shown for what you really are, or it's about the idea that this is about me. This is about me and me and me and me alone.
Yeah.
And of course, to being a Leo card, there's this idea of the king. When we think of that eclipse in 2017 or 18 over the entire United States, when something's in Leo, it's like the opposite of Aquarius. When you look at the zodiac chart or whatever it is, and you see where is the collective versus the I, right? So to me, it is about, it's a yes card, right? Or it's about especially in the Lenormand. But it's a card in the tarot where it's about healing. I do often, for some reason, when it's reversed, maybe connect it to the sun burning us all apart or something.
Yes.
I do that as well. My first real love and obsession was a Leo. August.
Because we're awesome. That's what.
Like in
August 12th. That's 3 days before mine.
Is it? Yeah. I constantly was jealous. I was crazy. I was mad. And then
he probably gave you reason to be. It was a Leo.
Turn around and be like, what? You know what I mean? What is
gaslighting?
But that's and then it got more intense. And the the sexuality got more intense. So there's that. But
So there's that.
so for me personally, it's about the I. It's about the self. It's about being seen, and then sometimes being embarrassed if it's reversed. Being seen for what you are. But it really is like one of the I don't have a lot of negativity around this card, and I don't know if people have a lot of negativity toward it, and I don't always know too if I'm understated in how I'm reading it, meaning if I'm not reading it with the flair that it might deserve. You know what I mean?
The only reason flair would really be involved here is because you're right, it is a Leo card, and Leos revolve around flair. I'm designed to be seen by people. I can't help it. If they don't look at me, yeah, we are. And that's a hangover from being in the salon industry, though. It was very image was everything at the time, so I had to break out of that, and luckily the gods saw fit to slap me down. But more so, this is about harmony for me.
I don't think it's a slap in the face, Bobby. I actually do believe that is what Leo is made for.
That is kind of our job.
That is a bad thing. I mean, that could be my superficiality.
I encourage other people to shine. That I love to see people embrace their creativity and just be who they are meant to be. But the negativity comes when, what if that is affecting other people around you? For instance, we see that red cloak right there. That's passion. What if your passion is wrapping up other people that they don't want to be, just smothering them? What if your creative efforts are having a negative influence not only on you but the world around you? What if you're becoming the reverse Knight of Wands? What if you're becoming an arrogant fuck? Yeah, you need to stop trying.
That's why I wanted him.
Yeah, or another aspect is maybe somebody doesn't want to shine. Maybe they need to be pulled back, you know? That's kind of iffy, because there's a lot of instances in mythology where certain solar deities would retreat and didn't want to be out, like Amaterasu in Japan. One of the other goddesses drew her out, made her laugh by showing her nunny lifted up her skirt. So there's several instances in that from around the world. I love those stories. Humor, that was one of the things that made me go into using humor in my readings and making people laugh, because I want to make people shine. I don't want to help them burn themselves out. So that is very important for me to keep in mind with people. That, yeah, I'm a Leo, and yeah, I shine, and yeah, I create, but anybody who knows me in real life knows that that can be overpowering sometimes. I can be extra. I know you guys find it hard to believe. Yeah. Bobby can be a little extra. Now, this card is related to the sixth Sephirah on the Tree of Life, right in the center. It's all about balance. This is the solar plexus of the Tree of Life. This is the harmony spot. It's called the Christ consciousness in the Tree of Life. It's the Hermes spot to me. This is all about balance. But yeah, you're right. It does have negativity. And anybody that thinks there's not negativity in every single card is wrong. There's even positivity in the Three of Swords, the Sorrow card. It shows a need for balance. That card is a Libra card, and it's sorrow because it's out of balance. So it shows that need for rebalancing. So even that card can be.
And then they come out, the swords come out blue on one side. There's a reason for that too. That's the healing, I think.
Yeah. Every card in the deck is both positive and negative. They're designed that way. Oh! Judgment. I have tremors. You guys can see me sometimes with the cards going like this.
That's another one that, again, I don't think.
This is the hardest one for me.
Yeah, it's one of the harder ones, and I think one of the things about it that renders it as such is it a personal judgment, or is it your judgment of other people? Is it what do you call it? A transference of your own judgment about yourself onto the world, and then are you getting back what you're throwing out into the world? And is that collective energy that is being imposed something that you're buying into, or is it something that you're actually bringing into the world to make worse? Or is it just simply that, and that overused word I use, that apocalyptic energy about this is the final judgment? It depends. See, that that grandiose sort of thing can be an important understanding of where, again, that does land in a reading. I don't think, though, I think the danger in that card is thinking that it's not that it could never be a judgment other than a judgment on the world. Because if you're reading it from the vantage point or the lens, I mean, we all have, as I said, the confirmation biases and all that. If you're reading it from the lens that, and people say it's about personal judgment, when it's reversed, to me, it seems like it's this sort of hypocrisy and sort of this, it really does become about the things that you're imposing on the world that maybe not that you shouldn't be in a position to want for yourself, but you're incapable of bringing into the world. So why are you trying to thrust that on the collective? It can be about, to me, that interceding energy where someone is supposed to come in and save you, and maybe that idea that you've put onto it is something that's weighing you down to the point where you're waiting for someone to save you, when in reality you can only judge yourself and save yourself.
Interesting. I like that. What does this say from Fatima? Oh, she's saying, "Hey, Judith, I am loving this conversation. I love your outlook on the cards. This card is ruled by Pluto. Pluto is the planet of transformation. The funny thing about Pluto, and I've talked with Marian Kirk about this. She's badass at astrology, you guys. But Marian, I asked her one time, do you find it funny that Pluto, the planet of transformation, keeps becoming a planet, not a planet coming a planet? She just gave me that look like, yeah. She said, it's a planet, period. So, like, I agree with her. She cracks me up. She's hilarious. The transformational aspect of this makes it a Phoenix card for me. But there is that judgment aspect that enters into it, into the transformation. That's what confuses me with this card, and why I get
more of a personal one, or do you see it more of as a collective one, or does it matter if it's up or down?
That's an interesting question. A personal, collective, or up or down. I don't see it in the same way other people see it. They view it as judgments, being judged either by society, or you judging society, or judging another person, maybe judging yourself. But there is definitely an aspect of judgment there that goes into it for a lot of people. Mine, though, is the rebirth aspect of it, the Pluto aspect. This is, the horn is sounded. It's a call to action. It's a call to transformation. When this card shows up, you need to pay attention to your spiritual self. Put all the other bullshit aside. Put that pocketbook down. All right, you need to pay attention to this now. You're being called to a higher purpose for something. It may be short-term, situational. You may have to be the higher person with someone in a situation. When it's reversed, that being the higher person goes out the window.
Yeah.
You may be the victim in this situation. You may have everything being come down on you for judgment, or you may be overly judgmental in this situation. You need to calm your tits. This could be a lot of things, and that's the crux of it for me, is transformation for one reason or another. That's what everything spins on. Becoming something different.
What I think is interesting is with that, I didn't mean to cut you off. What I think is interesting with that card is, like, even though they're all naked and everything, you have this idea of aliens that come down that are kind of like that. And are we going to impose the same ideas about them on us, or vice versa? Are we ready for that intercession? Are we ready for them to come? And what I find so funny about that is, it makes me think, even, hundreds of years, thousands of years ago, when they were, in the 1600s or whatever, 1200s, when they drew that card, I kind of feel like even in the regular Rider-Waite, they still might have had some sort of inkling that there was something else out there.
Yeah.
It looks like that in that card, especially the one you have right there for Judgment. Don't you think?
It does. Yeah, I can totally see that. This card is a warning also. They're all warnings. They can either, and my favorite types of readings to do, that I've started this past month, were positive, negative, balanced readings. I'll have somebody on, like Selena was on my channel recently. She gave the positive aspects of the readings, and I would give the warnings. Yeah.
I like that. That's a good interplay. I like that.
I got it from watching RuPaul. They made reference to Meryl Streep and Goldie Hawn in Death Becomes Her, when she, or the other lady, I can't remember her name. The lady that gave her the potion to Meryl Streep, when she goes, "Now a warning," and she goes, "Now a warning." So that's what started it for me. That just makes me laugh every time I see it. So yeah, we're gonna give you positivity, but I'm also gonna tell you, hey, bitch, watch out. Okay, go into this with your eyes open. But yeah, that Judgment card. It's not one of my favorite cards. I don't like being judged. I don't like judging other people, but I understand it is a human trait that happens. But I do try to not be so judgmental. Now the World card with the World Dancer.
Is that that?
Let's start off. This is Saturn energy.
Yeah, that's Saturn energy, so that's change. I feel like, again, another card that on the surface of it, people think completion or fulfillment. I think that sometimes that card is the next thing that has to happen before you get to that element of completion. That's how I read it.
I can get on board with that.
I think if it were reversed, it's another delay, and or it's something that might be not the one thing that's holding you back, or the one thing that is holding something in the universe that is preventing maybe you from moving forward for a reason. I feel like that's more a sign card. I feel like I feel like there's almost something, and I hate to say the fate and free will thing again, but I feel like that has an element of fate to it. Or are you going to be more proactive, or are you going to let stuff happen to you? I feel like it is in delay mode. It might be a delay of your creation, or it might be a delay that the universe is trying to tell you to stop. Or your energy is wrong for this. It's like a mismatch for a goal that you shouldn't be pursuing. I mean, that's another tough card because I feel like for so many of these, Bobby, a lot of these can be delay cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they very well can be. Let me throw out another spin to this card.
Okay.
What's the next card up after the World card?
Wheel of Fortune.
The Fool. The world card completes, so we start over with the Fool. So, where did the Fool get the idea to go out and do his crazy shit? Where did he get the confidence to face the world like that? Where did his plan formulate? Here in the World card. This is the end of the last journey. This is, if you look close, those 4 figures in the corner, everybody, are not only the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, which are fixed and secure, giving him the confidence to do this, but they are the 4 faces of the cherub, which means that this person is divinely protected in whatever they decide to do. Now, if that transformation leads them to a new road, then buckle up, Buttercup. The Saturn aspect of this card pulls things in. On the Tree of Life, Saturn is associated with the sphere of Binah, the mother sphere that gives birth. So this card is where all that planning happens for the next step. This is
the next gestation.
The next gestation, yeah. Exactly. The next egg of life. This is where that confidence comes in. You see, she's got both batons, both wands, whereas the magician had the one. Now she has everything. But sadly, even though we see her floating in the universe in happiness and completion, she's never going to be happy. So she's grabbing her stuff, putting it in a bag, slamming it over her shoulder, grabbing the dog, and hitting the road. Right? I love that this is where the planning happens. I love that the confidence. So when this card comes up, yeah, it is a tough one to read, but I always read it. Confidence and possibility. Something is about to be born. Okay. Yeah. Do you have your cards at hand, Jeff?
Do I have my cards? Yeah, I do. I have a lot.
We've been on for an hour and a half, so we're gonna call it quits soon, you guys. But are you okay pulling a collective reading for everybody?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Awesome. And I will grab my deck over here. Left or right? Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
No, do you too? Do you?
I have that. I was about to pick it up, but I'm not. Now that you've got that, it's like, you sucker.
That's
okay.
the reason why I picked it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's switch. I'm gonna go with. All right, Cyril Marchetti. It is. That's funny. I love synchronicities. This is a collective reading for everyone for the upcoming weeks. And I binged John Wick the other night, and I would like to say that it got progressively worse as the series went on. I was not pleased. The first one was amazing. The second one was decent. Third and fourth I didn't like. Especially because of what happened at the end. Okay, here we go. And since I have to work in threes, you get 3 cards, everybody. And while Jeff is doing that, I'll go ahead and share mine. The cards I drew today are an upside down Two of Swords, an upside down Ace of Coins, and an upside down, right side up, Seven of Wands. I got used to saying upside down. Balance plays a part in this spread, you guys, with these three cards. The Two of Swords upside down says that the time for inserting ourselves into difficult situations just to keep other people happy is done. Do not do it. Traditionally, you see this woman holding those two swords blindfolded. She's like, I'm not looking, I'm just keeping the peace. I'm keeping everybody from killing themselves. However, that reverse Ace of Coins is telling me it's time to start growing new crops. Don't focus on the past. Don't focus on inserting yourself in other people's business. It's time to plant your own seeds. It's time to focus on yourselves. The warning here comes with the Seven of Wands. Be aware that once you stop doing for other people, you got the Seven of Wands too, bro?
In the center, yeah.
When you stop doing for other people, they're going to not like it. Okay? When you stop catering to everybody else and focus on yourself, they will not like it because it takes the attention away from them. That's not your problem. You are your problem. As long as your ass gets up in the morning and goes to bed at night, you are in charge of your life. All right? Jeff, what do you got?
I opened with the Seven of Wands, so Mars in Leo. This is energy that is unyielding, unbending. There's almost, and what I heard, I forget what I heard before it, but what I got as a challenge to it, I got another seven, which is the Seven of Pentacles reversed. A couple things right now. I'm seeing two things here. The first thing I'm seeing is you know who digging his heels in more and more and more. I'm also seeing more crashes. This is Taurus energy, I believe, Seven of Pentacles, Saturn in Taurus. So we're going into Taurus now. The Seven of Pentacles reversed when I get it. Some people feel it's unemployment when it's reversed. Some people feel like it's you haven't done enough of something. I really feel like we need to be gentler. And I know that sounds really Pollyanna-ish right now, but with the other cards around it, like I got in the past, the Six of Pentacles, that sort of inequity energy, and yet by the same token too, the Sun in Taurus, that we could have everything, but we just can't. And then when I get the Knight of Cups, there's sort of that Lothario idea, but that no offer, because it's in the subconscious. We're still waiting and waiting and waiting for something better. And unfortunately, it's a hard stop on that. I know Bobby got something like the Ace of Coins. I got the Knight of Pentacles reversed. Something dramatically, and this is about, like that energy in math where it's approaching infinity, but it never reaches an end. It just, the limit, it's a calculus thing. The limit of something is an approach. That's what this is. But this reverse can be mercenary. Someone's going to put an end to the paradigm that we're in right now, or you're personally in, because I feel like you're not divorced from what's going. I don't mean Bobby. I mean like us collectively. We're not divorced from. We're actually supposed to be more than ever mired in what it is that's going around in the world right now, because we're supposed to feel it. And that's why with the High Priestess reverse, the energy and this flame energy that I got, not like five, High Priestess energy reverse to me is loud energy, or it's a secret, or it's just something that has, come out in spite of the fact that you might be trying to hide it. We're supposed to be seeing all this right now, okay? And we're supposed to be in our own energy in pain, I feel like they're saying. But acknowledging that we're supposed to be in pain isn't going to alleviate it. But in knowing it, the higher knowing of knowing that is enough to help us collectively get through it, is what they're telling me. As maybe as much of a platitude as that sounds. That's what yeah.
Mama Sushi, I'm sorry you're dealing with that, my love. Yeah. We've been together 25 years. This has come up in our relationship too. That even footing. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us, Jeff. Thank you for letting next time your place, baby. I'll be on Jeff's channel coming up. We're going to be reading together. We'll talk afterwards. We'll set a definite date if we have it. I'm not sure. Yeah, we'll get that settled. Everybody, I love you guys. I'll be on later in the week with 420 Tarot. It's time for another episode of that. I haven't been doing one of those recently. And we've got a lot more people coming up on Behind the Cards, so please stay tuned for that. Or smash the like and subscribe button, everybody. And we will see you on next episode.